going to take a look at the charts of the Adelson family situation with the objective of understanding their personalities. This is not about what happened, what could have happened, what may have happened, or what will happen. This is only to take a look at their personalities and the dynamics between them. These charts are based on their birth dates only. I don't have their birth times or places of birth, except for Dan, potentially. That will naturally limit what we're able to understand, and we can certainly revisit these once more information becomes available. Without their birth time, we cannot know the exact degree of the moon or the ascendant and the houses, but there is a lot we will be able to learn by looking at the personal planets. Starting with Dan Markel, who was born on October 9th, 1979 in Canada. His moon could be in Gemini or Cancer. I have a hunch that it could be in Cancer simply because he seemed to have no problem being mother and father to his sons, but it is just a guess. He had his Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Libra, Mars in Aquarius conjunct the North Node, and Saturn in Gemini opposing a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Sagittarius. With a stellium of planets in Libra opposing Chiron in Aries, it suggests that his life focus was always about others and seeking justice, according to his values, given the Sun, Uranus, and Mercury conjunction. He definitely had a difficult childhood. Perhaps there was someone close to him who was hurt and needed extra care that may have fallen upon him, or perhaps even he was hurt by someone. But he had Mars in Aquarius and Sun conjunct Uranus, so he definitely was very oriented towards modern and new things and towards the good of society. He was a spiritual person with Jupiter conjunct Neptune, but that spirituality encountered limitation from the outside with the opposition to Saturn. Clearly, we know that towards the end of his life, that limiting force was his ex-wife, Wendi, at least as far as him wanting to raise the boys as Orthodox Jews and her refusing to accept that. One thing about Dan is that with a Sun conjunct Uranus, this is someone who would fight for freedom and justice and have a strong sense of personal freedom as well. A person with the Sun conjunct Mercury has a potential of being extremely subjective in their opinions and express them forcefully. What is interesting about this placement is that the sign of Libra is one that seeks harmony and is usually very willing to listen to the other, even if to appease the other. But with the Sun conjunct Mercury, this placement will be very ego-centered and dismiss others' opinions as unimportant. Additionally, he has his Sun conjunct Uranus, and that is a person who is highly aware of themselves, very intelligent, and they have a great sense of freedom. Expressing themselves is part and parcel of who they are. This is a person who will absolutely fight if their freedom is challenged. And there is definitely the potential for a sense of arrogance here. The Sun is also in a wider conjunction with Pluto, and this can make a person an extremist. This is a signature of a big ego, and moderation is not something that comes easily. Power and control are strong signatures of this placement. Wendi Adelson was born April 22nd, 1979, with her Sun conjunct Chiron in Taurus. Chiron is a place of wound and a place of healing. Usually it is felt as a wound throughout one's life, and healing comes at Chiron's return, usually around the age of 50 or 51. Having the Sun conjunct a wound will definitely have an energy of humility and understanding. The stubbornness of the sign, especially squaring Jupiter in Leo, would certainly create an individual who is stubborn, fighting for some sort of justice. Additionally, Jupiter trines her Mars, Mercury in Aries conjunction, as well as Venus in the last degree of Pisces. That Venus in Pisces trine Jupiter can be a beautiful energy of wanting good things for everyone, certainly justice. Mars and Mercury in Aries would make this person a forceful advocate for others or for herself. We don't have her exact birth time, so we cannot know for sure, but she likely was born with a moon in Pisces, in addition to Venus in Pisces, making her carry the energy of healing and even needing to save or be saved. She does have Mars in opposition to Pluto, and that is an energy that we will see repeated in her mother's chart that basically needs to control rather than be controlled. I can imagine this may have played out as Wendi growing up very much under her mother's control, and it was probably an ongoing struggle until she learned to enforce boundaries, if she did. So with Wendi, I see an idealist who has personally experienced pain and will go to great lengths to make sure her will is carried out. And her will is either sincerely, or she sincerely perceives it to be, on behalf of others. Her Saturn conjunct her mother's Saturn Moon conjunction in Virgo leads me to think that she and her mother did not flow as smoothly as Charlie and her mother. Also worth noting is that with Jupiter in Leo, this is someone who can easily get offended, and it would really be damaging to her sense of self. And for someone with this transit to write a book that her partner does not bother to read, it would have been crushing and likely a hurt that she could not recover from. When we look at Wendi's chart next to Dan's, we can clearly see where there was attraction. Her Mars and Mercury conjunction in Aries, opposing all of his planets in Libra that include Venus and Uranus, would have created sparks and made an attraction that was appealing to both of them. However, with Mars involved, her Mars involved in an opposition with his Sun and Uranus, it was a battle of wills at the core. And Wendi was getting squeezed between her husband's will and her mother's. Charlie Adelson, like Dan Markel, was born with his Sun conjunct Uranus. So he also values his freedom and expressing it without any restrictions. This is a very intelligent person, very aware of himself and intolerant of any limitations. There's definitely a sense of arrogance and pride in their own eccentric being. On top of this, he has Mars conjunct Uranus, and this is a force that cannot be restrained in achieving their goals. This is a person who lives by their own rules and does not submit to anyone's restraints. Also, like his former brother-in-law, he had a conjunction between the Sun and Mercury. As mentioned before, someone with this aspect can be very ego-centered, refusing to pay attention to other people's opinions, dismissing them as unimportant. Probably someone who has to have the final word. In Libra, this conjunction has a potential of expressing itself beautifully, if not to say it can certainly be a master of manipulation. But in the case of Charlie, with the Sun, Uranus, and Mars conjunct in Scorpio, the energy here is even more intense. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and that is very much an energy of revenge, among other things. The conjunction of Mars and Uranus in Scorpio certainly has a potential of sudden violent death, which is consistent with the verdict we saw. With that conjunction, including the Sun, however, I would not discard the potential of that same end for Charlie as well. It is also worth noting that Charlie has Saturn conjunct his mother's Pluto. That could have the potential of him feeling almost devoted to her throughout his life. Donna Adelson was born with her Sun conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius, opposing Pluto in Leo. Sun conjunct Jupiter is a signature of a narcissist. And the Sun opposing Pluto is an energy that will control or be controlled. But judging from the rest of her chart, Donna is the one in control in any relationship. Harvey, as we will see, also has a signature of a narcissist, so maybe she was controlled by him, who knows. Her Mars-Neptune conjunction may manifest in different ways. Neptune is the energy of illusion and delusion, so acting with deceit is a possibility. Basically, there's conflict between her impulse to act and her willingness to accept responsibility for the results of her actions. Mars is in a wide square with Uranus, which is a similar energetic conversation that we saw in Charlie's conjunction of the two. And her Mars-Neptune conjunction, trine her narcissist signature of the Sun conjunct Jupiter, creates a possibility for actions coming from an oversized ego that need to be hidden. For Harvey Adelson, with the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Saturn, and the North Node in Cancer, family, and perhaps real estate, are without a doubt what he most values in life. That combination of energies is very loving, but can also be very demanding. Usually people with Cancer energies love so intensely, but do not feel the love in return with equal intensity, and that contributes to insecurities and needing additional nurture or care, as these can be physical needs as well. The energy here that has a potential for being narcissistic is Mars conjunct Jupiter in Virgo. The Virgo energy is very analytical and can understand what is necessary for a system to work. That can manifest as self-sacrifice in some occasions in order to make the system work, but can also manifest as a constant pointing out of how things could be better. In a nutshell, critical and relentless. I am less inclined to see energies here that lead to becoming the mastermind of a murder. There is more evidence of that in the charts of Charlie and Donna. However, I could picture a Virgo energy analyzing the situation to its core and coming to the conclusion that the only solution would be eliminating what interferes with his family being united. Going back to Donna, it is interesting to note that she was born with Mars and Neptune conjunct her South Node. There is something that she brought from past lives, perhaps artistic or even psychic abilities, and perhaps anger or an unfinished mission from a past life. Even more interesting is that Charlie's Sun and Pluto are conjunct Donna's South Node. When someone's planets are conjunct another person's South Node, there may be a debt owed from a past life. So let me turn to Jan Spiller's book, Cosmic Love, where she outlines for us the energies behind nodal conjunctions and connections to past lives. Here's what she says about South Node conjunct Pluto. Pluto rules power and shows where we have agreed to experience total transformation in this lifetime. This process involves surrendering our self-centered ideas of reality and our preconceived concepts concerning the use of power. In the choice between change versus the status quo, it is absolutely in our best interest to choose change that leads to positive growth wherever Pluto rests in the chart. If we resist, life will make the choice for us, usually through dramatic unfolding of events. So, for the South Node person, in this case Donna, until you become conscious of the dynamics of this conjunction in your relationship, your influence on the Pluto person is likely to disempower them. You will instinctively discourage them from experiences that would allow them to grow stronger through using their power. You may also tend to indulge their fears rather than encouraging them to take risks. What is happening is that their style of making changes that result in positive transformation for them is not designed to work for you in this lifetime. However, as a South Node person, you hold the power in this area of the relationship, and you can choose to create a successful outcome by pulling back and becoming more aware of your own separate identity. By supporting them and using their power correctly, you will clear any past life karmic residue from incarnations where you may have abused your power in your relationship with this soul. If you also have a planet conjoining your South Node, which Donna does, she has Mars conjunct her South Node, you have a major past life incompletion with this person, and you have met again in order to help them heal and repay your debt. Your connection drains their power, making them ever more dependent on you. If they don't become aware of it and disrupt the dynamic, they may lose so much of their power that they are unable to break this unhealthy bond with you, and more karmic debt will be created. To prevent this, and to repay your debt, Donna, you must be willing to let go of your desire to possess and not allow them to become dependent on you. As the South Node person, the outcome will be up to you. integrity is an important issue. Now, this applies to Charlie. If you are the Pluto person, the South Node person is in your life to help you reclaim your potency and purify the manner in which you use power to reach your goals. What is happening is that in a past life, you may have combined energy with this soul in order to reach a common goal. There was a mutual feeling of you and me against the world. However, you became enmeshed with them and dependent on their energy for your own sense of potency. An unhealthy codependency was created, and now they are in your life to give you back your independent power. Over time, their responses to you slowly drain your power until you become aware of the situation and vow to make your own choices and reclaim your potency. If this person also has a planet conjoining their own South Node, which Donna does, they have a contract with you to resolve a debt. In a past incarnation, they may have deliberately instigated or supported your misuse of power and personal charisma for their own gain. Oof, it is eerie how this played out. Regarding Wendy's Mars and Mercury conjunction to Donna's North Node, where conjunctions to a person's South Node indicate connections from a past life, conjunctions to a person's North Node indicate help that you may receive in this lifetime. So in this case, for example, when these Mars and Mercury conjunct Donna's North Node, Donna is here to help Wendi. Mercury is the mind, so to help her think and make decisions, and Mars is action, so to help direct her in what to do. This is meant to be a positive energy, a positive impact. However, the more I'm looking at Donna's chart, I'm recognizing that she doesn't seem to be a very evolved energy, and it is likely that she used this influence on Wendy's thoughts and behavior to her own advantage. So here I'm thinking back to Wendy's Mars-Pluto opposition, which would generally make someone want to control others rather than be controlled. Well, this placement is making me think that maybe Donna actually has control of Wendi. Maybe Wendi did not ever manage to grow out of that and establish boundaries that would have ended that dynamic. But I was getting the sense that Wendi more so had simply not been able to stop what was being planned by her brother and mother. But by reading this interpretation of these two personal planets, Mercury and Mars, conjunct her mother's North Node, maybe her mother did succeed in influencing her thinking and her actions. And maybe I am just falling for Wendy's Neptunian energies that would be the ones to deceive the public or anyone about her actions. Maybe she was as much a part of it as Charlie and Donna. I'm honestly left scratching my head about this one now. Okay, so regarding Wendy's Mercury conjunct Charlie's South Node. So Wendy's the little sister, and one might expect that Big Brother, especially Big Brother whose sun is conjunct Uranus, doesn't really take anybody else's opinions or thoughts into account. But this aspect right here goes to emphasize that dynamic. So here's what Jan Spiller says about the South Node person, in this case, Charlie. Consciously validate their view of life as correct for them without thinking that it has to work for you. And then on the other hand, for Wendi, being the Mercury person, your South Node brother doesn't take your ideas seriously and rarely respects your point of view. To clear this past life debt, the South Node person, Charlie, has come into your life to give you your confidence in using your own thought processes and ideas without needing validation from them. This person also forces you to strengthen your own confidence in your own truth and the validity of framework within which you live your life. So here again, Wendi has a huge amount of influence in her life, or at the very least, a huge hurdle to overcome in order to believe herself over her brother and her mother, and her brother and her mother who have really, really, really strong energies. It's interesting, the more I'm learning about her, I'm wondering, I guess I'm more confused. I'm trying to get a clearer idea of what it would feel like to be her. And even though she comes across as forceful enough with her Mars and Mercury in Aries, I wonder if deep inside she is as forceful, or if she ends up giving in to appease such strong energies around her. Okay, this one is going to be long, and it is the most chilling because the real past life connections and the big karmic debts in all of this were between Dan and Donna. It is mind-blowing to me that they each have planets conjunct each other's South Node. So this is a karmic debt to each other. And in all of the reading I have done about this, I'm not sure if it's in the passages that I will be reading here, it is clear that in this lifetime they had an opportunity to settle a karmic debt. And it is just incredibly heartbreaking that that opportunity was missed. I can't help but think about the forces that have to come together for two strangers in this lifetime to meet to settle a karmic debt. Here is someone who was brought into Donna's life through her daughter. The chances that she would meet this person and bring him back into this group of clearly traveling souls that have a debt to each other is pretty incredible in itself. And the fact that all of those energies came together and yet did not succeed in the goal, and indeed had such a tragic outcome, completely the opposite of what it could have been, is just terribly, terribly sad. So here is what Jan Spiller says regarding South Node conjunct Dan's Sun. So if you are the South Node person, meaning Donna, to be a supportive influence in Dan's life, the first step is to recognize that their life goals and creative paths they take to achieve is their way, not yours. If you also have a planet conjoining your own South Node, which Donna does, this is a payback lifetime and you have a specific contract with this person. There was likely a past incarnation in which you inflated their ego for your own benefit in a way that was not healthy for them. So in this lifetime, you have an opportunity to help them heal from a deep wound that you initially participated in creating. So for the Sun person, or Dan, what is happening in this dynamic is that in a past life, the South Node person, or Donna, inadvertently damaged your sense of personal power and now owes you the gift of regaining confidence in your individuality and your ability to create your own destiny. So they unconsciously invalidate your style of creating results. The South Node person in this lifetime has a contract with you to heal these specific past life injustices and help you find your strength on a deeper level than before. So that is regarding the Sun conjunction to her South Node. Next, we can read about Dan's Mercury conjunct Donna's South Node. And this is, again, the same dynamic that we just heard between Wendi and her brother Charlie. And it is essentially that the person with the South Node, which in this case is Donna, completely invalidates the thoughts and opinion of the person with Mercury, in this case, Dan. And so we're already seeing a past life debt that Donna has to Dan. And the dynamics in this lifetime are that she is constantly making him feel like his opinion doesn't matter. And we can already imagine the tension building. And regarding Dan's Uranus conjunct Donna's South Node, for Donna, you will likely be a restraining influence on the Uranus person's urge for action. Where they need the freedom to explore their own way, you will unconsciously block their independence. The truth is, their desire for excitement and to be free from the status quo does not work for you, but it does work for them. This again speaks about a specific past life contract with this person and having the opportunity to repay the debt in this lifetime. For Dan, the person with Uranus in the conjunction, Donna does not honor your uniqueness and does not accept your willfulness. So clearly there is a lot here that points to Donna having a karmic debt with different people in her surroundings, but certainly large debts towards Dan that she had the opportunity to settle in this lifetime. But it is striking to see that Dan also brought karmic debts to Donna in this lifetime, as his South Node is conjunct her Pluto. And here is what Jan Spiller has to say about that. In this case, with Dan being the one with the South Node, he is the one who holds the cards in this aspect, so to speak. The South Node is the one with the power to deplete the energy of the planet it is conjunct, in this case, Donna's Pluto. So, in a past lifetime, Dan abused Donna's power in some capacity. And in this lifetime, there is the capacity for healing, and that is what I'm going to focus on reading now, since we have read the details of what this dynamic entails in Donna's conjunction to Charlie. So regarding the Pluto energy, in this case Donna, you should understand that Dan brings you the opportunity to break the bonds of codependency and reclaim your power. If you do break the bond with them, there will be a huge disruption of energy. And by allowing this disruption to occur, It can blast away shadows in your unconscious that have been preventing you from growing stronger. You will discover where you have been abusing power in your relationships in a way that will allow you to finally release these patterns. Then you can emerge purified. From this position, you will at last be able to create the healthy, successful, and deeply satisfying relationships that you have been longing for. It is difficult to make sense of all of these connections. It is difficult to make sense of each individual one, and I suppose it's futile at this point. But what I find mind-blowing and chilling is the fact that there were all of these past life connections and entanglements, and that there was the opportunity to repay karmic debts and actually have some soul growth in this lifetime. Ultimately, that is what I understand the point of any incarnation to be: to work on your soul growth. And the fact that these people not only wasted the opportunity to do that, but created such a horrible situation and enlarged these karmic debts to such a degree is just incredibly, incredibly sad. Not to mention the fact that a life was lost. But I cringe to imagine what will happen when these lives meet again in a future incarnation. And finally, Dan's Chiron conjunct Charlie's South Node. To the South Node person, in this case Charlie, Jan Spiller says, "This is a heavily karmic relationship. Events that occurred between the two of you in a past life resulted in your inflicting a wound on the Chiron person, Dan, unfairly. This left you, Charlie, with a karmic debt to repay, which is why you have come together again in this lifetime." And to the Chiron person, or Dan, she says, "The South Node individual, Charlie, has entered your life to activate an old fear that lies dormant within you. This person was present in the lifetime when the original wound of Chiron occurred. As a result, they have a unique ability to stimulate that memory in exactly the right way so you can grow strong where you have, until now, felt weak and afraid. This wound was unexpected and was not caused by any misconduct on your part." This is still the wound in a past life that we're talking about. "It just happened to you, Dan, as you were in the process of going through experiences on planet Earth." It is chilling to me to be reading about a wound that happened in a past lifetime, and that here comes another soul with a responsibility to help this person heal, and instead does the exact opposite. I mean, if it weren't tragic enough simply by human standards, by energetic standards, it is just chilling and tragic and sad and wrong, wrong, wrong. I cannot imagine the karmic burden that Charlie has inflicted on himself in this lifetime. And Donna as well.